Welcome back, guys, to another video. In this video, we want to talk more about automation and the different levels of automation that you can basically just use to figure out where you are now and what level you want to level up to into the future, and use this as a resource for you guys so that you can really understand how to kind of continue to push your business, how to embrace the right technologies so that you can be more efficient and ultimately move faster as recruiters running agencies or running your full desk. So here we're going to talk about different levels of recruiting automation. But Ryan, before we get started, any thoughts?
Yeah, this is going to be a good one because I feel like automation is one of the most talked about conversations in recruiting today. And so happy to dive into what some different levels of automation look like, so you can start figuring out what levels or what tools might make sense for you to use in your own desk.
Perfect. So let's start with level one. So as a recruiter, guys, it's very important before going into any automation to have really strong fundamentals as a recruiter, right? You can still be successful and you can make a lot of money doing everything's manual. There's nothing wrong with doing everything manual. The only reason why we're starting with level one is now that we're filming this in 2025 with the advent of technology and AI further advancing. If you are manual, it's becoming more important for you to be able to make that jump, to look into technology, to be embrace it, to leverage it, because the gap will continue to get wider and wider and wider with the haves and have-nots when it comes to automation, right? So, but I do want to preface saying, hey, you can still be a recruiter doing things manually. For you to find success doing things manually, you got to have strong fundamentals as a recruiter first and foremost. But that's just still really important. That's almost like a level zero before any automation technology. You need to know how to be a good recruiter from end to end, how to put everything together, because then understanding like that end process, you can then leverage it with technology and really make the most and take the fullest extent of it. So level one, everything manual. What do we mean by that specifically, right? So when it comes to the candidate section, from searching LinkedIn and manually scrolling and using your own eyeballs to scan profiles, and then to make the decision, should I save them? Should I reach out to them? Should I star them, put them in a project? Everything is manual, right? We're not using any sort of plugin, no automation to kind of grease the wheel. Same thing on the client side, guys. So you have to find job boards, you got to search through job boards, you got to type in your job titles, you just got to manually scroll, find the open roles, find the hiring managers using platforms like LinkedIn. It's again, very manual process, but trying to like really make the point here. You have to do it. It's just you. There's no employees, no technology, nothing like that.
Are you struggling with getting responses from clients? Are you an established recruiter who is struggling to break six figures and beyond? Are you looking to start recruiting part-time and you don't know how? Do you feel burned out and stuck spending hours and hours each day in manual tasks like sourcing and outreaching and feeling like you have no time to actually run and grow your business? I am absolutely happy to announce that we have launched our own recruitment, educational, and coaching program to help you on your journey. We made sure that everything I've learned in the past 10 years, the tips, the strategies that really helped me build multiple seven figures of placements on my own desk with some of the best companies in the world, will be included in there. We'll also be including things like how you can build an acquisition system that brings in clients every month to your agency hands-free, how you can maximize the probability of a positive close during negotiations, how you can automate and outsource your day-to-day operations so that you don't have to spend hours per day researching or sourcing, how you can figure out the new and modern way to scale your agency that minimizes risk and maximize your upside potential. And we've also included much more. The best thing about this is not only will you be getting amazing content, but we will also handhold you and be with you every step of the way to make sure that you are held accountable and you crush your goals. We'll also share with you our own tech stack, tools, and plugins we actually use, plus everything else we know about automation and AI to help you save time, work smarter, and not be a slave to your business. The exciting news is that we've actually rolled this out to a select few people earlier this year, and I'm excited to see them well on the way to multiple six figures, with some breaking $30,000 to $50,000 per month already. So if you're interested to be a successful recruiter that can dominate in any market conditions, make sure you click on the link below to chat with another member of our team, and we're happy to chat with you to see if we can help you out. Make sure you jump on this really quickly. See you on the other side.
What about outreach? So when it comes to outreaching, right? Writing and sending individual emails, LinkedIn messaging, as well as cold calling, all of that, you have to do it. It's just you. There's no employees, no technology, nothing like that. What about these other topics here, Ryan, about calls and organization in general?
Yeah, this is one doing everything manually where it really makes sense if you're starting out and you're budget conscious because you don't need to spend money on tools and fancy software. But that also means there's a bigger pressure on you to ensure you have all your ducks in a row, you have everything organized, you're keeping track of what do I have to do today, tomorrow, next week. And it all really does fall on your shoulders to ensure that the business and your desk moves forward. So to finish out these the last 2 points here, calls. Again, this is one that is pretty manual. And even, if you do use some automations in the future for calls, a lot of that still is going to be you taking the time to sit down and talk to someone on the phone. So this is one that even if you do use a lot of automations, can still have a little bit of a manual element to it. But even if you have no kind of automations and you're doing everything manual, the calls will likely take a good amount of time. You have to make your list, you have to type the number on the phone, you have to wait for it to ring, and then, on to the next, on to the next. And while calls can be super fruitful and get you a lot of results, again, you do have to be very consistent, very organized with all of your information and your follow-ups and knowing, okay, who am I calling at what time and what did we talk about last time? So just ensuring that you are, staying up to date with everything you got to do, especially on the calls front. It all boils down to organization at the end of the day. A lot of the tools and processes that we'll talk about in the coming steps and coming levels will discuss organization done for you, but it is really important if you're doing everything manual to ensure that, okay, I know what are my priorities, where's all my information, where are all my notes, so that you can ensure that your desk runs smoothly moving forward.
I think another good thing to touch on again is just by pricing, right? So I think level one, everything manual, you're just keeping it as lean as possible. And the reason why that we're kind of structuring this video in 5 different levels is ideally that's kind of like the path that you want to take. You don't want to go from 0 to level 4, 0 to level 5. Level 1 is actually, there's a time and place for that, because by having strong fundamentals, by doing everything manually, then you understand exactly like what you need to do to make each of these sections work. Candidates, clients, outreach, calls, organization, you're really establishing that strong foundation. So now that when you're testing and using new technology on top of it, because you already have like a really good knowledge end to end of each of these different sections, you know exactly if the technology is working, it's working really well, or it's not working as well as you hoped, right? And then you can swap it out with new technology. So all of that can really happen, identifying whether technology is working or not from being completely manual and starting with just nothing and keeping things lean. So master each level first, and then you can kind of make your way up accordingly. But hey, it's your business. If you want to just go from 0 to 5, you can definitely do that. And you can absolutely find success doing that. But there's also a reason why, just in terms of logic, in terms of experience, it just helps having that pre-existing level and being able to find mastery at that or level of success. All right, Ryan, what are your thoughts? Level number 2, automate admin tasks.
This is where things start to get fun tool-wise. You get to experiment with a couple of different options here. And we put level 2 as automating administrative tasks because it helps you save time with some of the organization and the admin for your desk. But these automations aren't going to be doing some of the heavy lifting for you when it comes to, doing the outreach or the research. These are more small tips you can add into your desk to help you save some time. And so the biggest one and the first one we're talking about here is calendar scheduling. I think this is one that absolutely every single recruiter should have out there. And that is having a tool like Calendly allow you to automatically schedule calls with candidates or interviews or even, potential calls with clients as well. It is such a huge time sink to go back and forth of emails saying, hey, Preston, are you available Tuesday at 2 p.m.? Or what about Thursday? Oh, wait, I can't do Thursday. How about Friday? Are you available Monday? It's just a big, waste of time. And as we know, time kills all deals. And so the longer you go and the more friction you add to getting a call booked, the less likely there is a call is going to actually happen. And the less likely that anything productive is going to come from that call. So what tools like Calendly do is they will say, okay, this is Ryan's calendar. Here are all the slots that he has available. And then Preston can go in and select, okay, I want to chat at this time, type in my contact info, and boom, we're set. We don't have to go back and forth a bunch of times over email. And so there is really not a single reason I can think of to not use a tool like this, especially because Calendly has a totally free version for this. And so just being able to quickly book calls and not have to waste time going back and forth will save you an immense amount of effort and time. The second one is also having some kind of note taker. One we're highlighting here is Quill. We also have a video with the founder of coming out soon. But tools like this help you just take notes so you don't have to worry about that. And so you can focus on actually talking to your clients, actually talking to your candidates. I know that I am as guilty as anyone out there for talking to someone, whether it's a client or a candidate on the phone, and I'm like half listening, half typing, and they'll ask me a question and there's a little bit of a delay because I'm writing things down. And so it can be really easy to just lose the flow of the conversation and just kind of add some awkward pauses that don't really need to be there. So if you use a note-taking tool like this, you can add it to your Zoom call or onto your phone calls or even in-person meetings as well. And you don't have to take any notes. You just focus on talking to the person, the prospect, the client. And then at the end of the call, it'll spit out you a summary and any action items to move forward. So this is one where you don't have to waste time typing up all your notes, moving those over to your ATS or whatever the system is. You can focus on talking to your person and then have these systems take those notes for you and fill you in. So what about the next two, Preston, the ATS and CRM? What are your thoughts there?
Yep. ATS, CRM, I think are important tools that you should absolutely implement into your business. Is it absolutely necessary to have it in the beginning? No, but when it comes to just thinking about system systematizing and automating and getting time back, they absolutely help, right? And up until now, like when it comes to calendar note taking, a lot of you guys might think, oh, these are actually like not a big deal. It's not going to really have that much impact. Sure, but it also depends on what your definition of impact is. So here, while it may feel like a calendar scheduling is not like something that's going to change the world, we're talking about small little tools here that can save just minutes each day, right? But then you zoom that out, minutes each day compounded over a week, compounded over a month, compounded over a year can be so much time cumulatively that you're saving. And that's what this whole video is all about. Me, Ryan, and team, we're hyper obsessed to be efficient. How do we be more efficient? How do we move 10 times faster? And wherever those time sinks are, even though it may not seem like a big deal then and there, how do we clear that up, right? So same thing with calendar, same thing with note taking. This also applies to ATSs or CRMs. There's a lot of things that you do manually, from like whether it's like importing or sorting or organizing resumes to like tracking your candidates or all the interviews taking place, setting up follow reminders. When it comes to more CRM related kind of features, it's more like how do I communicate with clients, tracking different kind of rounds and statuses, managing contacts in one centralized system. Like when I started, it was messy. I used Excel, I used Google Docs. It just took a lot of time to do every single thing I just mentioned here. And by you finding a really affordable and solid ATS and CRM with really great automation capabilities, again, it's going to save you minutes and minutes and minutes. And putting all of these combined, plus calendar, plus note taking, plus many other things, we're talking potentially saving hours now each day. And my goodness, you roll that out into a week and a month, that's significant time saving. So ATS, CRM, are they absolutely necessary to make money? No, but like, are they necessary to have to be able to add a more efficient and robust workflow? Absolutely yes. So this is why level 2, we're kind of focused more on just the admin tasks. But with that said, let's go to level 3, Ryan, which basically graduates and going beyond admin into more like the research outreach, more of the important stuff. So what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where some of the, I guess I'll say, beefier tools come into play to automate some of your more, what I would call higher level, higher focus tasks like research on open roles and reaching out to clients, reaching out to candidates. And this is also the point where AI really starts to come into the picture. And because these are the areas when it comes to the research and outreach that for the longest time were super manual, is really took a human eye to do and took a human gut check on a lot of calls. But now we're seeing a lot of tools coming out that are able to do some of these tasks for us. So 4 quick ones that we wanted to mention here were finding open roles, enriching the data you have, reaching out and automating your outreach to clients and candidates, and also going through and parsing through resumes. And so to walk you through each of those really quickly here, first is finding open roles. If you're on level 1, you're doing everything manually, likely you're going through Indeed or LinkedIn one by one and typing in software engineer in New York City. And you're checking, okay, is this a good job to reach out to? Is this a good job to reach out to? You're copying and pasting or making one big list. But there are tools out there. My favorite is called Appify that allow you to just type in, all right, I'm looking for 100 open software engineering jobs in New York that were posted in the last 3 days, and then give it 90 seconds and boom, your list is there. So what used to take me, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour, now took me about 90 seconds in total. And so just the ability to talk about those kind of time savings are going to be huge. Like those admin tasks, the admin tools, maybe you save 2 minutes here, 3 minutes here, but finding an open role, that list just saved me 45 minutes off the bat. So using tools like Appify to create lists of open roles or even hiring managers or candidates can be massive when it comes to time savings. And then data enrichment. Of course, if you're using a tool to automate your job scraping, there's going to be a couple results that maybe you wouldn't have included if you did it all manually. And so there is an importance in using some kind of tool or even using a manual eye to look and say, okay, this Appify spit me out 100 open software engineer jobs in New York. Let me take a quick look to ensure that all of them meet the criteria that I'm looking for. Maybe a couple of them are open roles posted by staffing agencies that you don't want to reach out to. So either you can manually go through and look at that, or you can use tools like Clay, which do a lot of data enrichment, where they can use AI to scan and say, okay, out of the 100 jobs that we have here, 20 of them were posted by a staffing or recruiting company. We're going to take those out. And so being able to save you time there to then clean up the data that you have is going to help ensure that the outreach you do is very targeted and you're not sending out emails to places that aren't going to get responses, right? So use some automations to find open roles and then use the data enrichment tools to clean up that data so that you can reach out more efficiently. And then the outreach automation, this is probably the most impactful one that I would say, at least in my experience, when it comes to automation for research and outreach, is the ability to send messages, send emails when you're sleeping. You can send out these emails while you're at lunch. You can send out these emails in the morning when you're at the gym, whatever the case is. If you make a list today of 100 candidates who might be a good fit for your job you have in New York City for software engineers, you can put in their contact information into their SQL sequence, whether it's, Outreach or Instantly or Close.com, whatever your outreach automation tool is. And then they will just send out at whatever time you tell them to send out. So what used to take, a minute per email to send out 100 emails, so that's, 100 minutes, can be done in less than 5. So again, that can save you easily an hour per day. So that's why we're talking about level 3. These are the tools that are going to save you big chunks of your day, not just a couple minutes here and there. Lastly, I want to touch on is resume parsing. If you already have a database that is strong of candidates who you want to consider for a role you have, you can use some automated tools to say, hey, I'm looking for XYZ skills, and they will automatically search through all the resumes you have to pull out, okay, here are the top 10 resumes whose match what you're searching for. So again, a task that could take a couple hours can be distilled down into a couple of seconds. So here, this level 3 automated research and outreach, we're saving hours per day. And again, going back to Preston's point on the last slide, imagine how much time you'll save and how much more efficient you can be if you can save 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day with this automation. Not only is that huge on a one-day time scale, but if you use these tools for weeks and months and years, you're potentially getting days and months of extra time for you to work on your business and do the higher level tasks that, talking to clients, talking to candidates, doing what's actually going to add the most to your bottom line. So anything to add there, Preston, for level 3?
Well, and by doing all this stuff successfully, this is how you're going to truly be able to work less, but still produce the same or more, right? And because you're really leaning into these technologies. And my favorite point, honestly, is the outreach, guys. Like there's only sending out outreach when it comes to messaging or emails just takes so much time. And when I first started, I did, again, everything manually. I tracked all my follow-ups on Excel, and then to send and to track the second, third, fourth, fifth follow-ups. And then you send, trying to do like 20 to 50 emails per day. Like it just gets super messy and just super cumbersome very, very quickly, right? And I think like if you are an aspiring solo or an agency and you really want to get to that point to kind of bring in, especially on the client acquisition front, consistent leads, you got to be able to do this properly at scale, right? And the only way to do that is now to go beyond yourself and embrace technology. And this is where automation is so clutch. And this is how you can be able to work smart when you're focusing on talking to candidates, you're focusing on other things. That follow-ups do the magic for you, fully automated, getting responses and getting your calendar filled automatically without you having to do more work. So it really feels magical if you've never done outreach automation before. But if you want to just level up your outreach to the next level, you have to automate that 1,000%, right?
Yeah.
Now, any other thoughts to add to this, Ryan?
Just one last thought I realized I didn't touch on, but you kind of hit a little bit there, was that follow-up automation. Because it's one thing to automate one email, but as we know, the money is in the follow-ups. That's where you get most of your replies. And so the beauty of this outreach automation is that once you put someone into the sequence to start, you never have to think about them again. And the system will automatically keep reaching out to them at whatever desired timeline you have. And you don't got to worry about it. So you don't have to think, oh, wait, I emailed so-and-so last week and I got to send them a follow-up. Nope. It does it all for you. Again, they'll send out these follow-ups in your sleep, while you're sleeping, while you're out. You can even do it on the weekends if you thought that would make sense for your business. So just the ability to take any kind of follow-up off of your mental to-do list, that is just a huge value add. So you can focus on adding more people to the pipeline, which will get you more results.
In the beginning, I felt like email automation was like my secret magic sauce, right? Now that everyone automates email, but if you haven't, you definitely should do it. It's magical, right? You just literally do the research, punch it in, click a button, and the sequence runs with or without you. And if you've never experienced that, it's something awesome. It really is. And yes, like we always say, the follow-ups, let them do the work, and the magic is in the follow-ups, guys. Now, this leaves us too. If you've made it this far, level 3, the next level is even cooler, guys. So level 4, automating human interaction. And we want to be able to share like a little fine print caveat before we get into this. Our stance on AI and automation right now is to allow us, human beings, the recruiters, to do our jobs better, right? Will it ever replace us? In my opinion, no, or at least not right now, right? And so a lot of the things that we do, for example, like cold calling or screening, voice AI, there's a lot more products that, for example, we referenced here that are coming to try to help do our jobs better, with the hope that like they're not trying to replace recruiters, they're trying to help us to save just more time, right? And so I just want to preface saying that, and I don't want to start this slide creating fear or uncertainty, saying, oh my God, they can just automate like recruiters. Recruiters are here to stay, but will it be able to allow us to free up even more time, being able to replace our time from cold calling or screening to focus on doing more important things on our desk? Absolutely. So again, I think there's a lot of room for improvement for these products, but why don't we kind of go through some exciting new ideas here and areas that me, Ryan, and team are going to continue watching and seeing, what other kind of products are out there that are going to kind of make a bigger splash in the space. So no, number 1, AI powered cold calling. And I think the reason why this should make a lot of people excited is that we all just hate cold calling. We're like, oh my God, if I could just get the same ROI as cold calling, I don't have to do it. That's like a win-win-win-win. Take my money, here's a credit card. And while there are a good handful of products out there, there's one in particular called Bland AI. What it can do is automatically make cold calls and engage candidates or clients using preset scripts with live agents stepping in when needed. Again, this sounds amazing. And what you have to remember is that this will only get better. Are these products at the level to sound as natural and human as us right now? Definitely no. But with that said, that doesn't mean you should avoid these forever. There's going to be a time where they're going to be as good or better than us. And when we hit that day, oh my goodness, I am super, super excited. Speaking about calls again, screening calls, right? Us recruiters, we spend a lot of our time screening, qualifying candidates, and it's just very time consuming. For a high volume recruiter like myself, I can be doing 10, 12, 13 calls a day sometimes at the peak, and that takes up a lot of time. What if you can use a tool like Hey Milo, for instance, that can conduct automated initial screening calls with candidates, asking predefined questions and collecting response for further review, leveraging AI, right? So I think that's really cool. That can save up a lot of time where they can actually start interviewing with the AI, not with a human being. Whether we are there yet where people are comfortable talking to an AI versus a human being, video versus non-video, it's hard to say. I think there's a very dynamic discussion on both sides, but will this become more mainstream into the future? I absolutely personally believe so, right? So Hey Milo is a great tool. Same thing with Blend. So when it comes to voice and chatbots, Ryan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I agree with everything you're saying, where right now I think a lot of these tools are really good, but are they at a place to replace human interaction? In my opinion, not really. And so this is the level where I'd recommend don't just, look at this slide and say, okay, I'm going to go buy every single tool that's on this slide because, honestly, we're not using a lot of these tools here just yet. We're playing with them and learning with them, but we are not yet rolling them out for our own desks because what we're seeing, humans still have this edge here in talking to other humans, of course, right? That is at the end of the day, this is a relationship business. And this is your highest value activity that you can do as a recruiter is having that human interaction and talking to clients and talking to candidates. But that said, there are a couple of use cases that we are looking at again to just see how the technology is doing. And as it evolves and get better, I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming months, we do start to implement more of these tools in our own business. But to chat about the last two for AI interviews, kind of similar to screening calls, but a lot of companies like HireVue have portals where you can essentially talk to an AI interviewer and then it will collect data not only on the words you say, but also on your tonality and how you present and things like that. So really trying to use the AI to gather some details on body language and intention and things that normally we need like a human gut check to really get a good understanding of. And then lastly, chatbots for candidate interaction. I'm thinking this one probably leans more for internal teams, corporate recruiting teams, but I know Paradox is a company out there that has a bot named Olivia, which is essentially designed to help walk candidates through the application process. So if you want to throw this up on your website and anytime someone clicks on a job posting, you could say, hey, I'm Olivia, for example, and, kind of answer any questions about this job application or, what would you need to see to kind of move on to the next step, things like that to just help folks move through the job application process for your website. So again, that one might be a little more tailored towards internal or corporate teams, but it is something that we are keeping tabs on and, we'll be very interested to see as it develops and becomes a more robust tool going forward.
All right. That basically is it for level 4. Now for the final level, guys, we're just putting it all together, right? So on one hand, it's very helpful to identify these one-off third-party tools, but how do you ideally connect it together to create more of a robust workflow? So Ryan, what are your thoughts with level 5 here?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is where you kind of connect the dots. You start building this web of tools that work together. So instead of you just using one tool for one reason and then using another tool for another reason, and then, just keeping them all separate in different silos, this is where they start to play together. And this is really where those improvements start to compound. And so there are two main types of connections between tools. There's native and non-native. Native integrations just means that tools have backend infrastructure to work together where you don't have to go in and do all the configurations yourself. So for example, Clay, which is a data enrichment tool that we mentioned earlier, and Instantly is an outreach automation software. They have a built-in native integration to where you can do your data enrichment on Clay and automatically move that data over to Instantly and start doing your outreach. And so this is really best for folks who are not super technical. They don't have interest or desire to really get into the tech background on connecting tools, is you can just use tools that natively connect with each other to build onto your outreach. So Clay and Instantly are an example that we use here. Now, the second one is non-native integrations. And these are tools that have different functionalities, but the teams that have built those tools don't have workflows pre-built out that allow you you to nicely have these tools connect. And so in the cases like this, you can use a software like Zapier, which allows you to automate different tasks and connect two different tools that don't have their own native integration. So let's say, for example, you are using outreach on Instantly and you want to use some other, niche tool or new tool that doesn't have out a lot of, built out integrations. You can use Zapier to automatically essentially be the go-between between Instantly and whatever tool you want to use. And so a little bit more of a technical deep dive has to be, taken into account to connect for non-native integrations, but it can be super powerful to help you connect data from one tool to another without you having to go in and manually, export data and import data to the next tool. So once you can get an idea of what are the tools that I use and which of the tools already have existing native integrations or which tools do I need to use something like Zapier to connect them, you can start to build out a workflow for you. So a quick example we have here is if we can use a tool called Appify, we mentioned earlier, to find and scrape some open roles. As far as I know, they don't have a native integration, so you can use Zapier to connect Appify to Clay, and then use Clay to enrich your data, use the native integration from Clay to Instantly to move that data into the outreach sequence, reaching out to these people about these open roles. And then, if you wanted to use another integration, you can use Connect Bland AI to Instantly via Zapier and have some cold calls go out automatically as well. So again, the level 5 is a little bit more complex. It helps to have a little bit more of a technical background. But if you or someone that you hire is able to connect these dots and build out these automations together, it can be super, super powerful, because then you can have, while you're sleeping, these systems will go out, find open roles, find hiring managers, reach out to them, and make calls and emails and LinkedIn messages to them as well. And you don't have to do anything. You could be on a beach sipping a Mai Tai. You can be in bed sleeping. You don't have to do everything manually as well. So a little more goes into it, but once you're able to build out systems like this, the payoff can be super, super huge.
It's that beach lifestyle that we all aspire to have, Ryan.
Exactly.
But when it comes to level 5, guys, do you need it? No. I think if you get to level 5 or even level 4, you're like 95% there, right? You have basically identified all the main tools that you can use to automate that big stuff. Level 5 is just like Ryan says, just putting it together. And instead of like that minutes or seconds in between each step, it just makes it into a smooth workflow. It really elevates your experience, and it just, now the whole thing runs like clockwork, right? And so level 5 is what we consider like a mastery. Everyone should aspire to it. There is a little jump in terms of technicalities and plugging things together, native, non-native integrations from level 4 to level 5. But I hope that this video can kind of give you clear steps on where you are right now, what you need to do to reach the next level, and keep pushing yourself so that you can have more of an efficient desk and more an efficient business. So if you like videos like this where we break down big topics like automations, business development, or systems, and you want to see more like it, please comment down below. We love making these for you. But if not, we definitely appreciate your time, and I hope you learned a thing or two, and comment down on what you learned and what you implemented. And we'd love to see all of you guys succeed. And more importantly, we'll see you on the next one.